Welcome to the Venture Cafe remote studio. I'm Matthew Glidden, and with me today is Chris Savage.
How's it going?
Wistia.
Happy to be here.
Could you talk a little about the founding of Wistia? What brought you to it? How long a road it's been since then?
Sure. So basically, I started Wistia in 2006 with my co-founder Brendan. So we've been going for 7 years, almost exactly, a little bit more than that. We started in a 10-person house in Cambridge, basically working out of Brendan's bedroom because it was the best office we had available.
Did you have anything to choose from right now? Did you grab the first one and say, well, this has got space for us?
Oh, it was just, it was literally just like, this is the cheapest thing we can do. He was living in that house because he was working for a software company up here called Agency Port. It's like an insurance software thing. He'd been doing that for a year out of college. I'd been in Providence. And my girlfriend and I moved up and moved into a tiny little room in that house so that rent would be really low. So we were there, and that was a nice commute. Not a bad deal.
Yeah, good deal.
Not good deal. Wake up, eat your cereal, a little coffee, go upstairs. That was nice.
Did you come off of previous projects? Had you done independent stuff either before, during school?
Yeah,
school?
so I majored in film while I was at Brown, and I had worked for 4 years, like 3 of those years being in school, on a feature-length documentary about the former mayor of Providence. So that would have been like 2 of his...
Buddy Cianci?
Yep.
Oh,
correct.
Plunder Dome.
Yep.
Wow,
yep,
what a
Buddy
project
Cianci.
that was.
Yep. So I worked on that, which was an amazing experience, and it was also just like to be a really, really small team and to actually, like, the first time I saw other people watch that movie that I had spent so long working on, I was like an associate producer on it, but I really started like transcribing tapes and like logging tapes, like doing just the crappiest work you could possibly do. The first time I saw that was in front of 600 people at a sold-out theater.
Wow, cool.
And it was like, wow, this is what can happen. There was like 5 of us on stage. There was the 3 of us who'd been like in the office every day, and like a couple of producers who basically like slapped their name on it. And to have 650 or 600 people just like be really pumped up about something that such a small group of people could do is really exciting, and it just showed me what like a really small team could do, especially if you were unhindered by like a big organization.
And that spirit must follow you through to where you are now.
I mean, I think it was one of the things that made me think like this will work. I mean, I like to say that the greatest business decision that Brent and I ever made was like being naive enough to start when we were like super young. And I mean, our rent at the time, like in that house, like I was spending $300 a month on rent, and I was literally spending $15 a week on food because there were 10 people who were living there. It was like a commune of us all sharing food, and no one else was home for like 3 meals a day. And so we would just, I would eat lunch and breakfast and dinner every day, and I did that for like 2 years. And so when you have 10 other people or 8 other people like footing the bill, you can live for $15 a week for food.
Oh yeah, that's a decided advantage then.
Yes.
Being able to start that. Not only that low cost, I think having that kind of overall experience is going to inform them. The other decisions you can make.
Yeah, for us, it made us appreciate this, like, that we were actually, even though it was really crappy and and by crappy I mean we couldn't get customers at the beginning, and we were doing something totally different and we weren't getting a lot of traction, like it was still fun, and that fun wasn't driven by like going out to the movies and like having lots of new things and stuff, like
it was the challenge, it's the cooperation.
Yeah, and it was like we actually enjoyed the work that we were doing even then, so that was not a bad place to start.
What did you feel like was the first time that people took you seriously? What was a step where you thought, oh, I've come in and I've really made a business of what we have going on here?
Yeah, I know the first time someone took us seriously, which was a year in. We were so we started with a portfolio website for artists, and we did that for the first year. We had to make money. We went to those artists and were like, you should pay us for a private way to like manage your videos and stuff, and they were like, that makes no sense.
These are video artists
specifically? Yeah, mostly. It was actually, but it was like photographers and illustrators. We did the exact opposite of what you're supposed to. We went really wide instead of being like very targeted. Like, oh, we'll just make this thing that works for anyone. So anyway, like we ended up connecting with a medical device company because one of our roommates, who is actually now the director of marketing here at Wistia, was like, hey, I'm working at this medical device company. You guys should come in. We have video problems. And we went in there just to try to help them. And they said to us, we need a way to privately share video around the world. It's critical to what we're doing.
And this is separate from something like YouTube or
Totally
video
separate.
or whatever options were there. However few there were.
Well, this is like a big company, or a big company for us. It felt big. It's like 80 people, 100 people, and they just needed to guarantee that it was private. They wanted a way for people to collaborate around it, and that was kind of it. And they're like, we think you guys are the guys to do this with us. Like, you're the video guys. Can we pay you to make this thing? And we said, well, why don't you just pay us a monthly fee, and if you like it, you can keep paying. And I think that was the first moment that I was like, wow, these guys are really taking it seriously. Like, video is a really big problem for them. They don't know what to do, and like, we could be the guys to solve it for them. And so we decided to change our direction and go and make this private video sharing thing. And it was like, honestly, the speed with which things changed after that switch was incredible. I mean, especially in hindsight, like 2 months later, we were talking to major like video production companies and television companies, and
were you citing that initial?
Yeah, we have a medical device company that privately shares video, and like we know that video production companies need to privately share video that's unfinished, and I knew a couple of those people because of my film background, so we started talking to them, and that like, you know, within 6 months, like Nestle had signed up to use us for internal training, Sonos Networks had signed up to use us for training, and we were still just the two of us like working out of Brendan's bedroom.
Oh, terrific. So is there a type of serendipity then that you get to from that starting level, that first step, that big contract?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you reuse then for those next stages? Is it the credibility of being a real business that you think that helps you the most?
There's definitely a lot of stuff that we reused, because I think we're always trying to push ourselves to make the product better, and we're always trying to sell. If we're selling something, it's like, it's a vision of where we're going. And so like you're reusing that, but the credibility of having real paying customers was a game changer. It made it a lot easier to go into. I mean, we didn't get this deal back then, but we went to WGBH and talked to them about using us for all their private video needs like back then, and it didn't work because I told them a price that was too high because I lost, because I just thought we had more credibility than we did. But
that was not a game ender though for you.
No,
you learned.
Yeah, we learned a ton from that. They're a customer now, which is great. Yeah, no, it's. I think the credibility is obviously what you're after at the beginning, and then there's this funny inflection point where you've tried to be so credible that actually you're like not personal, and at least for us, we've gone from like the credibility mode to trying to focus more on like the personality, and being personable, because that is what is credible with most like individuals.
Is there a moment when you decided that your current digs, which are far more than 2 people now, you did all that work with 2 people?
Yeah.
You're currently now at maximum space for what you have.
Yeah.
What have you found most important then in deciding to be where you want to be in your next office? Bigger office, a little more space to work with.
So we 2 years in, we moved to Lexington, and
from Cambridge,
and we were in Lexington for 2 years, and it was 4 of us there in a little office above like a framing store. It was one big room. You know, it was cold winters, like driving out there, and but it was really fun in that one big room. And as we were just like toiling through things, like we all were enjoying the work we were doing.
In Lexington, you're having fun in Lexington?
I know, it seems impossible.
It does seem impossible.
But
this is no insult to Lexington.
No, we love Lexington.
There are lots of wonderful business.
It's an amazing revolutionary site.
It is. Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah. So when we moved into this space, which is in Davis Square, we wanted something that was funky and open and that would like allow us to kind of embrace the openness we found in that first office. But there was a little bit more broken up, so as we had more people, like there was more nooks and crannies to go into, places where people get work done without being like an open floor. And it's been amazing, and now we're 24 people here, and so it's become just too cramped. So the new space we're moving into is very similar. We wanted something that was, again, really open. It's like 2 floors, Top floor is totally open, gonna be all desks and like some booths and kind of like built-in standing desks. And this office actually has big cutouts between the two floors, and the same one the new office were like built a cutout in between the two floors.
You added that going in?
We added that with like a spiral staircase so you can actually get between them without going through the normal big safety fires staircases. And we've built out a kitchen because a lot of us eat lunch together every day. We found that that's something that's really important. We've built out a lot of like small meeting rooms because, I don't know, we're not the type of company that sits around a big like long meeting table and says like, all right, there's 20 people, like let's hash something out.
Sure.
It's much more done in like 4 to 7 person groups at the most. We don't really want rooms that are going to have more than 7 people in them.
I can attest to having come here just a couple of times. You right away feel that there must be about 7 or 8 or more different areas we could set up, and they would be distinct. They'd really have sort of a focus.
Yeah.
Either in rooms or even in what you think of as shared spaces.
Yeah. And so it's just both, basically the 2 floors are both really open, bunch of like collaborative workspaces, kind of kitchen event space. And it's in a little area of Cambridge that I love, which is just outside of Central Square. So it's not as high traffic. There's like a park across the street.
Is this on Sydney Street?
This is on Tudor Street in between Sydney and Brookline. And it's a standalone building, which is fun. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's a place that I think like could be the new home of our culture.
Terrific. And is there a feeling that if you're there and you find success, you have enough room to fill out there and you can be there for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, I mean, so we have a 5-year lease there.
That's a big step.
It's a big step. It's funny, this one was a 2-year lease with an option for a 3rd, and we got 2 years in and we're like, oh my god, that flew by. We cannot leave. And I think if we could stay here from a size perspective, we would. So 5 years is less scary to me than it used to be. But we're just growing a lot, like in terms of the team size right now. So I don't know. Like I hope we can be there a long time. I don't know how long it will really be. But there is a good amount of space there. I think this space is so funky, and there are so many bizarre like cutouts on the floors and stuff that it makes it harder to like. It just makes it harder to comfortably have people working together. I mean, if you go upstairs right now, the front pod has like 8 people in it, which is bananas. It's like too much. So,
were there any tough choices that you had to make, or in the new space compared to what you have now? Anything that you think you'll miss, but in a way that ultimately helps you?
I think the thing that we'll miss the most is that like Davis Square has just been amazing, and being actually over the last 3 years here, there's been tons of new restaurants that have opened and bars, and it's just a fun place to be, and it's not super crowded, and I kind of like that. And so I think that's probably gonna be the thing we miss the most. The new space has a lot of the stuff that we love here. We can't bring in the AstroTurf that we have, so that's a bummer. But other than that,
yeah. Well, the advantage of being able to choose from 2 places that are really culturally dense, it's hard to overstate that I'm sure when you have a group where you're transporting a large group of people from one place to another.
Yeah.
You want people to be able to pick that up. Are there any advice that you'd have for people who may be moving or growing into an area where they don't have to choose between neighborhoods? There's something about their own space, a way to pick out the things that you like or find most effective?
I think our space wouldn't work for everybody. It can get pretty loud in here, like just during the day when people are working, and so like you have to be the kind of person who enjoys that and like thrives on that, and some people don't. And I would say just try to find the stuff that you are already doing that you think is like your best work. Like, when these people are killing it, how are they working in the best environment? And is that something that actually is true for you too? And if it is, then at least that's how we've started to tease out this stuff. Like we realize we don't do great when we have just huge meetings with huge groups of people. Like most things can be solved with less people, and often like you can have a representative of your team or whatever dealing with something, and if there's enough trust in the culture, then you're totally fine with that. And those kinds of things made it easier for us to, make small meeting spaces like this. And in the new space, we're actually building walls. That's just like the same thing that let us do that. So I would say try to find the stuff that you're already doing that you're doing an amazing job of, and just do more of it.
And augment that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we finish, are there any things that you can think of that have inspired you along the way? And they may not be business things. They may be things that you saw. You had the experience of being on stage and seeing a project that you'd really spent time on.
Yeah.
Be enjoyed by all these people.
Yeah.
Or the things that you can think of that weren't in service of $1, as far as you knew.
Yeah.
But they do inform a business choice that you made, either as you got bigger or as you learned more about the customers that you were serving.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a great question because there's so many things that I can think of that are in that category that it's like hard to pick one.
Okay.
I mean, like, I guess the way that I think about it now, and the way that I think about a company now is like, everyone has a limited amount of time that they can invest into anything.
Yeah.
And there's a limited amount of attention that people have, like, free every day. And as a business, like, you have an opportunity, hopefully, to like solve a problem in a way that it saves people time or makes their time more enjoyable. And sometimes that's because you're making them more money. But I feel like often that's not actually why people pick things. Like, they pick things because they feel really good, and it says trust them. It's maybe even working the same way as it was before, but this one's way more fun or more interesting. And at the end of the day, they're just wasting their time less. And so, I look to like movies that inspire me and like experiences like walking around the city and like going to coffee shops, and like I just like any time that someone's like creating a delightful human experience, that's something that like there's always something to be gleaned from that you can bring into your business and the way that you work that probably other people are not paying attention to those same things, and it's like that in and of itself can be a huge differentiator.
Something that makes them feel more directly connected to either the place where they are, people that they serve, the things that they may enjoy personally, that they're able to bring into a business because it makes them a more effective business person, entrepreneur.
Absolutely. I mean, like, our whole business, right, is like trying to help other businesses be successful with video, basically. And people can cancel whenever they want, and so what that means is like if they're still paying us and sticking with us, then hopefully like they're being more successful, and like our success is tied to their success, which for me is really exciting. And what I see with people just in the video world at least being most successful is adding like people back into the buying process and adding personality back into business. Because, before the internet revolution, before, Amazon and all these other like e-commerce plays, like every time you bought something from anybody, you were talking to somebody.
Yeah.
They were helping you navigate the sales process. And it's the same reason why if you and I go to Diesel, which is like a great coffee shop here in Davis, and they're super friendly or they're not or whatever, like we might actually talk about that and it will affect whether or not we want to go back there. It's all the same thing. It's all just business. But at least online, like I think that's the opportunity is like by bringing those things you care about and showing them off, and at least the way that we see people show it off is in video, and like the things that they're passionate about, it can have a huge effect on the business.
Important to remember, whatever business that you're in, really, video, not video, whether you're just using the people that you already have on staff to talk to customers, whether you're just writing for customers. Yeah.
Yep.
And one other thing I'll add, Wistia is going to be hosting office hours in the Venture Cafe in October. Look for that on our calendar, and we look forward to seeing you and other people from Wistia.
Sounds good.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.